Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking over a question that was submitted on my website about how to deal with feeling like you have to be the tough guy or hold your emotions in when you know that they actually need to come out and be talked about and processed. So I'm going to get into that and give you 3 tips to help you if you relate to that and need to work through it. And yeah, we'll get into all of that. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I would love it. Appreciate you guys. All right. All right, so I'm going to read the question that was asked and get into it. And it was asked by a man who feels like he has to be a tough guy, right? And put on that front. But I get this similarly a lot from women too, who feel like they have to hide their emotions or don't know how to process them or talk them out or whatever. So it can apply to everybody, and I can relate to it as well. So the question was, how do I deal with trying to be a tough man and hide my emotions when I want/need to talk about my feelings and hurt and pain? Right? So many of us can relate to this, and I definitely went through this as well when I first started doing my own therapy and going through this process for myself. So there's 3 tips that I have, and they're kind of in order a bit, I guess, but you can take them, take one and leave the others as well. The first one I would suggest is to identify the roots of this. Like, where does the idea that you have to be a tough guy, or you have to hide your emotions, or crying is weakness, or whatever, where did that come from? And often it comes back to our families and our upbringing and the way we were raised, right? The messages we got, the things our parents told us, our teacher told us, society told us. What did that look like? Where did that come from? Really talk through that, or write it out, or just think through, like, where did I learn this? Who said this? Who told me that emotions were whatever? Or what did they say about different emotions? I've talked about this a little bit in some other videos, but for me and my family, anger was okay, right? You could show anger, but the other emotions weren't as easily expressed. And that's what a lot of people tell me too, right? Maybe one thing was okay to express, but other things weren't. Like, you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to show sadness, that's weakness, blah, 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 whatever. But it really helps to look back and identify the roots of those things, because we have to understand why and where it came from and how long it's been playing out. So a lot of times we're told things when we're young, and then we sort of ingrain them and start carrying them out for ourselves. So that voice may have come from someone else originally, but now it's you playing it out in your head, right? Some people even say, like, oh, I still hear my dad's voice or my grandpa's voice, but often it's now our voice that's carrying out those messages that we're also identifying aren't helpful. So look and work through that a bit. The next one is to start making small changes. Sometimes we feel like, okay, I need to figure out how to make this huge change and let all my emotions out and be vulnerable and connect to all of this. But you've been doing the opposite for a long time. It's not just going to switch, right? So I try to make small changes. So what's a little thing that you can do? What's one small thing you can do to start being more vulnerable or start looking at your emotions? Maybe it's keeping a journal. Maybe it's reaching out to a friend who you feel is safe and opening up a little bit more. Maybe it's just changing some of the wording that you use, right? Maybe it's trying to reaffirm for other people that it's safe for them to share their emotions, or that their emotions are okay, and that's kind of how you're starting to rework that that's true for you as well. So try to identify at least one small thing that you can start working on to adjust this, even if it's just a little thing, right? A little wording or a little something, right? And the last thing is to get therapy if you're not getting it already, or at least some sort of safe space with someone, ideally someone that isn't, in your circle, right? We want to have that as well. We want to create space with people that we know and that care about us to be vulnerable if we have that. And we also want to create space with people that aren't involved in our lives and there's no, tie or judgment or anything that's going to come back on us. to start processing this stuff and start leaning in. And I like it when people talk to me about what they're scared to talk about. Like, if they say something like, I don't even know how to start talking about this, or this emotion is really hard for me, or, it's really hard for me to cry or anything in front of someone else, or, maybe even catching themselves like, see, I'm saying that because I'm trying to hide the emotion, or I don't want to go into the emotion. Because if we're able to talk about what we don't want to talk about, we can figure out how to get there. And you can create safety, and you can create reassurance, and you can create pathways to going to those places that hurt by talking about how they're hard and what's difficult and all of that. And that can kind of create the pathway. A lot of people get worked up and they're like, oh, I can't talk about this, or I can't say this, or I can't cry, or I can't express this emotion. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that and open it up and start creating that way to get there. You don't have to jump there. This is going to be a progression. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's coming up for you. Let's work on getting there. So those are my tips. Get to the root, process the root of the issue, start making really small changes, and really find somebody, ideally a therapist, but it doesn't have to be, that you can work on this stuff with. And if you're already seeing somebody, then talk to them about it. Try to open up that space more. If the fit isn't right, if you feel like that the therapist just isn't really working for you, then maybe someone else is better, or a different fit is better. Or maybe you just need to talk to them more and open up that space more, and talk to them about your fears, and talk to them about what's difficult, right? This is the therapeutic relationship, is to have all those really tough conversations. And don't expect yourself to change and be able to just adjust this overnight. It's going to take a long time. Most of us have built up these scripts or these things for a lifetime. So to expect them to change quickly just isn't realistic. It's not going to happen. But it can start to change, and it can start to get a little bit better or a little bit different. And you can start to reaffirm that, emotions are okay, and this is how I express this emotion, and this is what I'm working on, and this is how I'm being a little bit more authentic or vulnerable or showing up, and this is how I'm challenging that stereotype or that belief or that expectation that you have of me or that I have of me, right? So those are my thoughts on that. I hope that answers your question and helps. If you guys have any comments, please leave them below, or you can reach out to me through my email or through my website. You can ask a question. You can reach out about your support options. If you want to have a call or a session or anything with me, just let me know and we can see what I can do, how I can support you, anything, right? Just reach out and I will do my best to help. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a great rest of your day.